And welcome to the Town of Surf City work session agenda. If you would at this time, we're going to stand and say the invocation, and Jeremy Shugarts is going to lead us in a pledge. Do you want to do the invocation as well?
Sure.
Sure.
Do you want me to do both?
Sure.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this. Thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us together as a community. Thank you for looking out after our leadership and our community, our citizens. Thank you for a wonderful 4th of July. And may God bless our country and our city and help us to keep you in mind in all that we do. Amen. I was going to bless the food, by the way. So for sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Again, thank you all for being here this morning. At this time, you have the adoption of the agenda in front of you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I will make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries to adopt the agenda. Our first item on the agenda is the Park Master Plan. Oh, public comment, I'm sorry. Yes.
Scott Zimmerman.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, members of the council. Thank you for your leadership. I just have a couple questions this morning.
Sir, could you state your name?
Scott Zimmerman, retired Marine Colonel.
And your address too, please.
My address, Mayor, is 310 Vesta Court, Surf City, North Carolina. I've been a resident of Surf City since 2009. I fished on this island since I was 12. I hold a master's degree in public policy and administration and a master's degree in strategy and resourcing. I have experience in implementing the National Defense Authorization Act of 2020 and the National Defense Authorization Act of 2022. I do have a question. It's actually a 3-part question. It is a question about the process, not about an individual. My question, if you could bear with me, please, it concerns Surf City Live. And my questions is 3 parts. Were the contracts of Surf City Live properly vetted? And that is the key word that I'm interested in, that we as citizens and people, not constituents, but people, we are concerned with the vetting process of those contracts. We understand that there was a very thorough legal review. You have some of the best legal counsel that represents our city. Were they vetted? That is my first question. My second question, what companies were awarded these contracts for Surf City Live? That is my second part. My third part of my question is, were the companies that were vetted these contracts that I would imagine were very lucrative and very beneficial to these companies, do these companies actually pay taxes, and are they a part of Surf City? Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, for your leadership. That is my question.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
While you're here, I want to just mention one thing. Are you aware that Surf City, the town of Surf City, does not operate Surf City Live NC?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it is a private company now that owns those.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else, Carla? So, okay. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is the Park Master Plan. And Kyle or Frank? Is it Frank? Okay. Frank. How you doing today?
How are you?
Good.
I'm just here to present and introduce Greg from Withers and Ravenel. This project started, I believe, last October. The vetting process to gain knowledge on the community's wants and needs, and he's here to present their findings and hopefully get approval to move forward with this plan.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank, and good morning, Madam Mayor, members of council. So wonderful to be with you all this morning. It's great to see you all again. I was joking with Frank earlier that I think my colleagues are quite upset with me when I get to tell them where I'm heading to work on part of this project, and really thankful for the past year, the amount of time we've gotten to spend with the community. Excited to share with you some of the results, as Frank mentioned, that we found and uncovered as far as what the community's vision and expectations and hopes and goals for the future of Surf City Parks and Recreation are, and what we've learned over the last roughly 10 months since, as Frank mentioned, this project kicked off in October of 2024. So without further ado, I have prepared just a brief agenda for this morning's presentation. That's going to really start with an overview of our team, in addition to town staff, town parks and rec staff, that you may have seen and interacted with along the way throughout this process since last October. And my hope is, from my presentation this morning, really that second bullet, that we're able to catch everyone up. I know all of you have been plugged in along the way, but my hope is in roughly 15 minutes, I'm able to paint the picture of the timeline, starting back in last October to where we are today, and all that we've uncovered from the community. That's going to really start. It's going to be painted in 3 pictures. The first being that level of service analysis. I'm going to talk about a lot of the data that we collected as part of this planning process that really took place in the first third of the process, we'll call it, so roughly October to about the middle of January. That was a lot of the background data and analysis and research that was conducted that really allowed this plan, allowed us to rather have an understanding of existing conditions within the town before we move further and heard from the community. We'll talk a lot about community engagement. I have a slide solely dedicated to the number of community engagement events, including 2 public meetings, as well as a community survey and actually interviews with different focus groups in the community. So excited to share that with you all as well. And then all that background data and analysis, vetting those ideas and findings with the community would lead us to the visionary ideas and components of this plan. So really what were the key findings through the background research paired with the community engagement? I want to go over those findings with you all, in addition to a few supporting considerations, as well as the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee's evaluation of the plan. And then to wrap up, we'll talk about next steps, and I'm happy to stand here and answer any questions that council may have of us. So just real briefly, great to see you all again. Again, my name is Greg Feldman. I'm a planner and project manager within our community planning team at Withers Ravenel. Our community planning team lead on this project is Mr. Daniel Rao, and we also had our landscape architect assistance with Miss Abigail Black. Miss Abigail joined me in all of our public engagement events, as well as our initial parks facility evaluations at the beginning of the process, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And then Mr. Scott Karen, our sub-consultant with Ballard King, contributed a great deal into the programming aspect of this plan that I am aware is in your all's packets. So certainly if you have any questions regarding the programming recommendations and considerations within the document, I'm happy to do my best to answer those, or we can certainly get everyone in touch with Mr. Scott to answer those questions. But just again, a few of the faces that you all may have seen throughout this process, and to talk at a high level about this project. So I mentioned we really kicked things off with a full day individual facility assessment and evaluation in October of last year. And now fast forward, here we are in the middle of July, inching closer towards August for a hopeful adoption of this document. But what really is a Parks and Recreation System master plan? Well, it's a long-term shared community vision for the future of Surf City Parks and Recreation. It's intended to serve as a 10-year master plan document. It's informed by previous planning efforts that the town has certainly spent a good deal of resources, time, and money on. So we wanted to bring relevant ideas from other planning documents forward in this one. But what it also does is examine individual park facilities and the potential for future facilities, as well as staffing, the current state of Parks and Recreation staff, and how well is the community being served with respect to its operations, in addition to programs and actually policies. It also is intended to guide future improvements and actions that will enhance the state of Surf City Parks and Recreation, which I'll go ahead and throw in a spoiler here. I'm sure you all are well aware, but a big sentiment, as I was sharing with Frank earlier today throughout the process, was there was a theme that was consistent throughout the project, and that was very much a mindset from the community to keep it up. We're very proud of what the town offers with respect to its parks and recreation services, given its resources, and there was just very much a theme of keep up the good work, Surf City. So I'll touch on that a little bit more. But what this plan will also do is serve as an implementation tool. So actually at the end of the document, if you all have had the chance to flip through it, and we can certainly talk about it later, we do have an implementation matrix where through all of the findings that we revealed, again, as a result of our background research, in addition to community engagement, we've actually listed out individually those recommendations that staff, Frank, I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but staff and leadership of the town can look to as a guide when asking yourselves, what's next? What do we need to do next? Well, it's right there, and there's an implementation roadmap for you all to carry out. So this is certainly a powerful tool, and in the last bullet, certainly not least, it's used to seek grants. I'm sure some of you all are familiar with Part F funding. The state allocates a very good amount of money annually to that Part F program. Certainly one of the first items they look to in a community that's applying for funding is how up-to-date your Parks and Recreation System Plan is. So just another use of this document. So let's start with some of that background data information and analysis that I mentioned. Really this part of the process that took place from October to January, October 24 to January 25, and that was a levels of service analysis. Well, what is a level of service analysis, or LOS analysis, intended to accomplish or do? Really what it does is, at a high level, it takes the current number of facilities, including program offerings that the town has in place, and it compares those to what national averages are, what national benchmarks are for similarly sized communities. So that's what we did on an individual program and facility basis. These metrics really helped us kind of see where potentially do we need to fill in the gaps, right? Let's say if we have a deficit of pickleball facilities. That's a great one to use as an example. Well, what do communities of a similar size kind of have, right, with respect to the number of pickleball facilities or courts that they offer? And we're able to use that, use that as a starting point. Let's say we have a deficit of 5 pickleball courts. Well, we'll bring that as an idea to the community throughout engagement, what we did throughout this process, and say, well, actually, in comparison to similarly sized communities, just as a starting point, we see there's a deficit of pickleball facilities. Is that something that you all would like to see? We're just using that as a conversation starter. Of course, the answer was yes here, but that just as example to show you kind of how the level of service analysis comes into play. There are multiple ways to evaluate level of service. This pretty map on the right-hand side of the screen is another way, and that is concerning access level of service. So what we actually did here was map all existing town parks and ran an access analysis. So we actually dropped a point using GIS at every park entrance, and then essentially ran an analysis that mapped all properties within a half mile of these park access locations, which would have simulated a short walking distance. We also mapped another bubble outside of that for 1 mile, which would really simulate either a longer walk or a bike ride ideally. And then everything that kind of fell outside of those 2 parameters is your 3-mile service area, and that really indicates you need to hop in a vehicle to access these parks. Fortunately for the town, the parks are very well distributed, and so what we really revealed through this analysis is just that. The existing parks within the town are very evenly located, and so that everyone, for the most part, falls within that half-mile or 1-mile service area, which is excellent. We also, on the far left-hand side of the screen, you probably noted these individual cut sheets, we call them, within the planning document itself. This represents our initial facility assessment and evaluation. We actually have an in-house tool that we use to evaluate different aspects of each park, including its comfort level, its access, its ability to accompany all different age groups and so forth. We have different criteria that we can talk through more about, but this is just one example of Soundside Park. Starting with that first paragraph there, just us kind of debriefing what the existing conditions and states were, what were some key challenges that we identified in Soundside Park, and there on the bottom you have our project team observations as well as a scoring matrix. Again, spoiler alert, I'd say every town park scored very highly with respect to the existing conditions of its offerings. But what this again did through that background data and collection phase allowed us to again bring forward ideas to the community. Right, we had this observation in Soundside Park. Do you all agree with our findings? Yes or no? And then, you know, if the answer was yes, we were able to continue to dig deeper and expand on that idea throughout the recommendations portion of this plan. So let's talk a little bit about community engagement. A very great deal of participation in this process. And I think that was mainly thanks to a public survey that we actually launched from November to right at the middle or end of January. That survey would have concluded right after our first public meeting, January 9th, I believe it was. We had, as you can see here, we had 265 participants as part of that survey and several more write-in responses. So we had a few open-ended questions and we had quite a deal of write-in responses. We gained a lot of knowledge from those survey results in addition to our 2 workshops. Again, that first workshop would have taken place actually right in the community center on January 9th, I believe it was. We had good foot traffic. That's a picture, and I regret taking a picture before there were any folks in the room, but you can see that I can assure you there were participants that evening, but you can see we had interactive stations. A few of those maps probably look familiar from my last slide, but those are some level of service maps that we have. And this opportunity in January really was to just get everyone educated and up to speed on what this plan encompasses. Our second workshop, I think, was a huge hit. Fortunately, we were able to leverage foot traffic from the Easter egg hunt. Thought that was an excellent event. Had a blast there. I think everyone had a blast there. We had such a great amount of foot traffic, and as you can see in that top right photo, we had a lot of interaction from the community that took the time to stop by our booth and actually share preferences on the different visionary components of this plan, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So that board there represented a dot preference board. Essentially, we had each recommendation outlined on that board there on that display. And we had 2 columns where folks would either agree and disagree and then actually write in why. And for the most part, I'd say all of our recommendations that we brought forth at that event in March were received favorably by the community. And just really quickly to touch on one additional layer of engagement, we actually had 4 individual focus group areas as part of this process, including an arts, cultural, and special events focus group, athletics. So Parks and Rec staff helped us in identifying folks who were specialists in these different categories. That included programming as well as leisure, nature, and civic focus groups. So we were able to certainly glean some more ideas through those conversations with those folks. Again, key themes, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, at the very top of that list, without a doubt, was very proud of the current state of Parks and Recreation and offerings of park facilities and programs within the town, and a keep it up mentality was certainly conveyed to us throughout engagement. I'd say right under that bullet was a large focus on community center expansion. I think that is a result of the popularity of the programs within Surf City and the difficulty in scheduling of accommodating all the different wants and needs of the community in one gymnasium. I think that was certainly, which I understand there are already ongoing efforts to implement that concern, but that was certainly one that was at the top. as well as aquatic facilities. So not just thinking about swimming pools, but splash pads. We heard that quite a bit throughout engagement. Pickleball without a doubt was mentioned several times. I know there's a very passionate community within the town, as there is across the country. It's a very fast growing sport. And that was certainly heard throughout the process as well. Kind of a niche and unique theme that we heard, that we actually expanded on and dug into throughout this planning document, was a want and a need to standardize your beach experience, so beach experience for residents. And that boiled down to really standardizing the amenities that are offered at access points. So I thought that was a very interesting one, and we actually, within the document, happy to expand on it a little bit, but actually created a tiered system and idea to help that move that recommendation forward. And that was a tiered system in terms of what your experience will be at different access points within the town. So certainly encourage you to look into that, and happy to answer any questions on it at the end of this presentation. And there was also a need for ongoing connectivity. And when I say need for ongoing connectivity, that's with respect to trails and multi-use paths. I think folks are very, very excited and encouraged by the Surf City multi-use path, and they want to see that work continue on that project. And again, this last bullet really speaks to Soundside Park, where there is DOT property from the old swing bridge. Thinking about potential ways in the future on how to program that piece. We did ask that question throughout engagement, and a majority of folks wanted to see it remain as a passive experience. When I say passive, seating, covered seating, and just kind of a viewing area for the most part at those NCDOT properties. So just a few themes from community engagement. And I am using the laser pointer instead of the clicker here. And now let's talk about that third part. So we had our background data research and analysis. We vetted that with the community, and now here we are with our plan recommendations. So the final leg of the plan, implementation. So let's just look at our 9 visionary components here. When I say visionary components, these are kind of the 9 themes that really set the stage and guided all of our individual plan recommendations within this document. So number 1, right there you have it, expansion of the Surf City Community Center. Number 2, an update to the bicycle and pedestrian plan, which I understand is already in the works. Certainly findings within that update to the plan, as well as the document itself, will help set the stage for potential funding opportunities to move projects like the multi-use path forward. So that was certainly at the top of the list in terms of the visionary components of this plan. That was also the strategic, kind of goes in hand with number 2, but the strategic development of local, state, and national greenways. So we're talking about the East Coast Greenway, of course, when we talk about national greenways here. Number 4, we already touched on it, but that was standardizing beach experience through public beach access amenity standards at all the various access points here in the town. Also, there was, again, a need or a want from the community to establish aquatic facilities, really take a next look into that feasibility of establishing aquatic facilities, perhaps at the new park, or perhaps finding an ideal and suitable location for an aquatic facility such as a splash pad or a pool. And number 6 here, certainly from the active community in the town, setting aside space for dedicated pickleball courts was on this list as well. And then continue to, and this is worded very elegantly, but essentially pursue novel use of existing parks and facilities. I think that can be really boiled down to continue to make necessary improvements to existing park features, playground upgrades when they're needed, and just stay up to date on all the current facilities. Because if the sentiment, which it was, is keep up the good work, Surf City, certainly a part of that would be contributing back into existing parks that are used so frequently by members of the community here. And 8 was actually develop a parkland acquisition policy. As the town continues to grow, an acquisition policy would essentially let you know where are the hot spots in the community, where would maybe be another ideal location for a new park, maybe not as to the scale of the new Earl G Park, right? But where's a good location? Where are we seeing a lot of growth? Where can we add another pocket park and actually expand our offerings into the town? And certainly an informant of that bullet number 8 there could be those level of service analysis. So filling in the gaps, as I mentioned, that one map at the beginning of this presentation where different park points were, showing how homes are within a walking distance or needing to drive distance. Maybe look where those gaps are through that acquisition policy as well. And number 9 is really just meaning to stay up to date with respect to your fee schedule and policies. Certainly the program offerings here are very, very popular for residents and the broader community. But making sure those fee schedules and policies are in line with that of neighboring communities or those of similar size. And let's go. So some supporting considerations in addition to those 9 visionary components. Facility improvements, as well as program recommendations, policy additions, and operational considerations are all included within the plan document itself. And in addition to individual recommendations, what you will see within the final pages of this document are actually recommended phasing based on priority levels that we received from the community. So kind of starting with your low-hanging fruit all the way to your longer 5 to 10-year long-term capital projects. Those are all outlined with the respective phasing timeframes within this document. And really the final few pages of the plan itself include funding sources that we've seen be successful for other communities in recent years. So we kind of have a page starter for Parks and Recreation staff and leadership to look at when wanting to move some of these ideas forward. And this is just an example. I got a little bit ahead of myself in the slides here, but these are what the final pages of the document look like. You have your recommendations outlined on the left there. You have your associated costs. How expensive is it going to be really, ranging between $1 all the way up to $4 signs. And then again, phase, starting with your short term. That's kind of your 1 to 3 year time frame. Medium term, you're looking 3 to 5, and then 5 plus. For your long term, and then of course some of those various, like keep up with facility improvements, condition of existing playground equipment and parks. Some of those items will be ongoing in nature. And on the right, just a snip there of some probable funding sources to move some of these ideas forward. Okay, and so my final 2 slides. Try to wrap up here quickly so we can leave time for any questions. But that takes us back to last month, well, really earlier this month, when the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee met to review the draft plan and recommended it move forward in a favorable fashion. So that second bullet there, they did provide a motion of support for the plan. And next steps here, happy today to talk through any items that you all would like to see make its way into the document. We certainly still have some buttoning up to do, and we'll send over to staff sort of the final iteration of this plan. And that's really just minor formatting to be done. But the hope would be that it would move forward to the August 5th consent agenda with council's approval to do so. Again, getting ahead of myself, but delivering the final plan along with all the data that we collected, including GIS data, in our review documents of previous planning efforts, and any demographic and data research that we've done. All of that information would be transferred over to staff in the town. And then bullet 4 is really to begin implementing some of these recommendations. So using those funding sources, taking a look at the implementation table, and start to bring some of these ideas that we vetted with the community to life. So that wraps up our next steps. That wraps up my presentation. I apologize if I was long-winded. Certainly want to make time for any questions that you all have for me. If I don't have the answer today, which I sure hope I do, we will absolutely get it to you, but it's been a pleasure working with the town over the past year. We've come to learn a lot from the community, and again, the attitude and sentiment throughout the project was keep it up, Surf City. So great job. It's been a pleasure working with you all.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely.
It was a great presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Greg?
I have one quick question. Can you give a couple examples when you say beach access amenities?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. If I had the page number, I really wish I did. I'd tell you where to flip to in the plan. But there was a desire. I'll start from the beginning. There was a desire kind of identified early on in the process from our January engagement event to standardize experience dependent on what beach access you were using. And when I say standardized experience, folks want to be assured that they will be going to an access point with a wash station or with a place for them to, drop a lost and found bucket or a public restroom, or they'll be able to go to this beach access and know they can take their vehicle and park it, or they know they can only walk or use a bike here. So what we've developed is a tiered system with 3 tiers, starting with kind of your tier 1 beach access, which would really be similar to the roll-in access, where you have a permanent restroom facility. Actually, not sure if Roland has wash stations or not. It does have wash stations. So permanent restrooms, wash stations, and actually parking spaces. So that would be your tier 1, has all 3 of those items. Your tier 2 may be your temporary restrooms, right? Like a porta potty. It does have a wash station, and you can access, it has bike racks, right? It has access via a bicycle, but maybe not a permanent restroom or permanent parking spaces. And then your tier 3 would really just kind of be an access that only has adequate width to accommodate someone walking on the beach from the roadway. So we've developed this tiered system in response to that want and need from the community. So I think it would require some further exploration, maybe even in an engagement exercise of itself. But I think the stage is set, or the blank page is conquered, for lack of better terms, on that idea. So,
we set out specifically for the beach access standards from the request for proposals and through evaluation of what the different firms could provide back for the plan. But our goal was to, as Greg had mentioned, try to standardize, but also set ourselves up for recurring CAMA access funding
Absolutely.
to improve. And then the other concept was, looking at the beach and as a recreational amenity, is there opportunity for things like fitness stations at certain accesses, just to provide that additional enhancement that the community may want. So, hopefully will set us up for success in
absolutely. I think,
avenue.
as you mentioned, Kyle, certainly one of CAMA's top priorities is ensuring public access to all waterways. Of course, the beach being the biggest one. So there's definitely funding available to bring this life forward. And I think just showing the initiative that the idea has been started and actually acted upon will set the town up for success in future funding applications.
I have a question with the old disc golf course. I know it's in there that to possibly repurpose that when we do the new one more as a walking path.
That's right.
We have an excessive amount of kids on bikes right now that need a place to go. So that would be an awesome use for that, as well as to allow bikes and have that as a bike trail.
Sure.
Where we can kind of standardize safety requirements as well. So that's just something that I think would be a good repurpose for that portion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. And you're absolutely right. It was kind of heard through public engagement as well as through conversations with staff that with a new disc golf course coming online, a lot of folks currently use the existing disc golf course on H2O Place, I think it is, as a walking trail or just kind of passive recreation to begin with, take their dog out. We have heard a lot from the cyclist community here as well. So if we did make it too specific within that recommendation on the cut sheet specifically for the disc golf course, that it would only be geared towards a passive audience, we can certainly revisit that before August and make that tweak just to make sure the wording doesn't really nail it down to one specific use. Absolutely. Thank you.
I was going to say on I think it was item number 5 on the visionary components, where it talked about aquatic facilities.
Yes.
So I mean, we kind of like have, after Hurricane Florence, have stopped building facilities, just trying to be resilient and not building any more surf city facilities on the island. Sure. So I don't know if it was like are you looking at like truly building like a building? That's what that was for?
So we left, that's a great question, and we left number 5 fairly general, and that was because we understand that with any new facility coming online, it takes a great deal of feasibility, especially when you're talking about that of a new aquatic facility. There's a lot of concerns, including liability and so forth, with establishing a whole new facility in town, aquatic or not. So what we really did here with our visionary component, it led us to a recommendation in the plan that simply states explore the feasibility of bringing an aquatic facility online. So not bring a new pool to town, bring a new splash pad to town. It simply states explore the possibility of doing such. So we have left it fairly general for now, but certainly understand your concerns and comments there, and we can make any tweaks if you think necessary.
And then on your, I forget what page it was, but was your fee schedule and policy?
Yes.
Because I don't know if we're all ready to give consensus today. I would, do you have like examples from other beach towns of their policies and their fees that you can show us as well?
We do. I think we can certainly link some in the plan of maybe not neighboring municipalities, beach towns, but some of similar population. Okay. We can absolutely link those to get, again, the blank page started on that. But I think what's important to remember with number 9 is that as you do continue to invest back into the Parks and Recreation system, whether that's a new program offered or a new facility brought online, it's very critical to remember to update your fee schedule appropriately to accommodate those expansions, and as well, not just to accommodate some of that, some of those dollars that you've spent on that capital project, that capital improvement, but also to reinvest back into the system, to make sure you have adequate staff, to make sure you have equipment that's up to date as well. So just really that's a reminder that as you do expand, as you grow with respect to facilities and offerings, just to make sure you go back to your fee schedule and update it accordingly too. But to your point, we can link examples.
And Madam Mayor, if I may too, on that topic, working with Frank, he's got a strong knowledge about developing programs and doing the financial analysis before the offering is provided. So if there's an idea for a new program, what fiscal analysis needs to take place so that we know that we're not wasting resources. If only 3 participants register for a 25-seat course, whatever it may be, it's probably not going to be feasible for us to offer that. So that'll be one thing. This is a lead up to, hey, you need to look at these things, and then staff will take that recommendation and start developing some additional fiscal analysis policies for programming opportunities within the town. So,
Great.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any more discussion? If not, thank you, Greg, and your team for a great report that you've given us. Thank you to the committee. I see Donna here that sits on that committee. I know it took a lot of time to read the manual, and to Frank and Susan and Bella that's on board now. We're going to look forward to you presenting some really good projects for us to move forward with.
Yeah.
So consensus today?
That's totally. I heard you have mentioned. The council may not be ready to move forward at your first August meeting, which is completely fine. We would just need to know scheduling wise. Do we want to push this off a month so that you all can have review? We'll communicate directly with council to give you all a deadline per se to have some comments back that we can get to Greg, and then we will then plan on September for adoption.
Okay.
Absolutely. That sounds like a
Great.
great plan. Well, thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure working with you all as well as the community. Certainly didn't mean to gloss over the fact that it's been excellent working with your staff. You have such an amazing staff with Susan, now Frank. It's been a pleasure working with them. So
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And Madam Mayor, so I think just a consensus to move this to the September agenda would be appropriate.
Okay. Do we have consensus for September?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, next item is ordinance amendment temporary uses, and Mr. Jeremy Smith, our town planner, will present.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is a request. As you're aware, staff goes through our ordinances from time to time, be it the zoning ordinance or town code, and we are looking for direction with council to direct staff to remove instances where there is temporary uses listed in the town code, municipal code, strike them so that way they are all within the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance controls land use, and with that, we would then want to work with planning board to add clarity to the existing temporary uses in the zoning ordinance and bring that forward as a future amendment. So it's a two-part request to remove those sections out of town code and then look to revise our temporary use permitting process, possibly, and our standards for temporary uses in the zoning ordinance. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So give us an example of what you're talking about.
So currently, I can only speak what I've looked at recently, is there are references in town code to circuses and carnivals. It's very vague and has a general overlay of what someone should do. So if someone were to grab town code, they may take that and run with it thinking that's all they've got to do, not realizing that the zoning ordinance has additional standards that are more strict and requires a review by town staff. Same use, more standards. And so that is the opportunity for confusion on a applicant when they come to town, and so we'd rather have it housed in one ordinance, so that's the one they're working in and there's no conflict.
Anyone have any questions, concerns?
Is there anybody in the pipeline that this affects? You know, for example, okay, so there's nobody
No,
that this affects immediately.
Maybe it's because I'm still new to town. We have not gotten a lot of temporary use requests. Most of the uses we deal with temporary are allowed outright. If Publix wanted to have an outdoor sale as part of their current business, they could do that. If we haven't had requests like that. We just want to be prepared if we get those requests and that there's no ambiguity. I mean, there's always questions. We always are contacted with, hey, I want to do this, and we'll guide them through it, not realizing that there may be conflicts within older versions or older ordinances in town code.
With that example, you're talking about Publix wanting to hold an outdoor set. Now, does this put them in conflict where now they have to jump through a bunch of hoops so they can put up a tent and have a buy one, get one free?
We may not even touch that aspect of the temporary uses. It's just those uses where the ordinance is vague. It's saying, for example, a temporary use the statement may, how are you going to handle traffic? Well, what does that look like? How, they can say, oh, well, we're going to have someone at the driveway directing traffic. Does the ordinance give us the ability to say, well, we need more information than that? Okay. We need copies of your contract for who's going to be directing that traffic. How, how technical do they have to get? And we want the ordinance, there's not every instance is going to require that, but we want it there to give us that ability to require if we need to. Yes, sir.
Looking like at 514B, temporary uses exempt from permit. So I know we have during the off season some pumpkin patches. I think like the Rotary or Kiwanis put on, they would still be able to do those. They would be considered exempt.
Unless planning board wanted to amend that section or working with staff, but that is not the implication here. It's more the ones that are already listed as ones that require a permit that we would want to beef up the standards, or just, and that may be the wrong term, more just add clarity, what it is the town needs more specifically. When you look at a lot of ordinances in other similar towns our size or beach communities, they're very specific on what they're looking for. And they're some are very broad and just kind of housing, and and some are very specific and submit this, and this item, and then the town can't approve it, or the town will deny it and give you reasons why we're denying.
It's a yard sale. What is a yard sale defined as?
I'd have to pull the full ordinance, but typically and there may be a conflict in town code, I haven't looked, as a yard sale. Generally, it's a one-off, one-day event held on the property by the property owner. That's your typical definition, but that may be an opportunity where we go and find a conflict in town code versus
But it's
ordinance.
considered, normally, a yard sales, in my eyes, would be considered contents of your home.
Right, we're not requiring permits for someone to have a yard sale on a Saturday.
It's not I grew some vegetables in my backyard and I'm going to pop up a tent.
Correct.
Okay.
There are different laws and provisions for if you grow stuff on your property. There are state laws that protect them to be able to do that. But to bring things out of town onto a property, we already have provisions in that.
And I think our focus is more gonna be on the non-residential side of things for this.
Does anyone have any more discussion? We are just looking for a consensus.
Yeah, to allow staff to start digging into this and carry it through the planning board process.
I agree.
All right, thank you.
Jeremy? Next is our sole source Coastal Farms, and David Price will present.
Mayor, Council,
Good morning.
before we do the application for sole source, I'm going to try not to go into much detail about this. But the wastewater plant has a byproduct that we do need to haul off, and it gets land applied. Due to the nature of this byproduct, it is not harmful, but it is not pleasant to talk about either. Certain farms do take it and return it back to nature. Those farms, as a lot of farmland, are becoming less and less available. Therefore, Coastal Farms is under contract currently. It is not practical to bid this contract out every year due to the reduced number of farms. They are the closest ones to us. They've been working with us for many years. So it is a cost savings to use them due to proximity and to our relationship with them. As a result, in order to adhere to our purchase policy, we are asking to name this as sole source. And the town staff is requesting this be put on the consent agenda for the August 5th meeting.
Being a sole source eliminates us from getting three.
We still can if it justifies it, but it eliminates it from us being required to.
Does anyone have any further discussion?
What would be the trigger that you'd want to say, okay, this might not be such a good idea anymore, let's farm this out, or let's put a bid out?
Like, so right now, we have contracts that lock in our prices if they violate those contracts, or if we go to renegotiation, then they're dramatically higher, or if there's a failure of service.
How long is the price lock for?
5 years.
Thank you.
Like, for example, this is very essential. These trucks are rolling in and out of there every single month, and they have to. If they miss that and cause us issues, we might want to go ahead and trigger that.
Any other questions? Looking for consensus today?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have consensus from the town to move forward?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Go.
Next up is special event manual, and Kyle Brewer, I think, is going to
Yeah,
present.
good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. I will be brief with this. We discussed this last month. Let me see if I can change my view. I was hoping to not have the notes display. Okay. talked about this last month, and I told council I would bring this back for additional discussion, or more so the presentation of some data that can show what our true peak times are. So we're going to get into that, and then just real briefly, efforts for special events manual updates. So we utilize data analysis to evaluate foot traffic using Placer AI to gauge and assess estimated number of people in Surf City. This tool utilizes location-based data to help understand volumes of what we're calling out-of-market visitors in the area. And out-of-market visitors are essentially those that enter Surf City from another zip code or area, eliminating constant, so residents and commuters, people that are coming to Surf City day after day, so true visitors of the town. What this chart shows probably is no real surprise to you, but it provides a graphical representation of what the normal visitor levels within the gray band, the busy season above that, and then anything below being considered the off-season. So the busy weeks, essentially spring break, weeks 11 through 14, the traffic begins to rise. Easter and pre-summer, you have a steady increase. Memorial Day through the 4th of July, we have basically our peak traffic within town, and then through Labor Day week, or week 36, is still elevated. The weeks below, January, weeks 2 through 5 is our annual low point. Post Labor Day, where we start to see this taper of folks leaving town, vacations ending, etc. And then some holiday weeks, which can be quiet periods within town. So what we started looking at is how do you really define what those high congested areas are. So what we have seen is, and what staff is recommending, is that the consistent rise in visitors near week 22, which is after Easter but before Memorial Day weekend, but still above average, and then you see the consistent dip after week 38. So after Labor Day weekend, and then you get to that below average date. So essentially, when you're looking at week 22, this was around mid-May, earlier mid-May, and where this comes into play and what our discussion was focused on was major ticketed events, major events within Soundside Park that the town has implemented safety measures to say the boat ramp has to be closed because the convergence of traffic, boater traffic, and an event or event goers at Soundside Park, there's a conflict there, and we have safety issues going on. So what we wanted to do is take this data, adjust our special event manual that will then define when those events can happen. And as a reminder, June, July, and August, we do not allow these events regardless. But we would then be able to look at this data year over year, start incorporating other sources of data, which becomes very eerily similar with traffic, with water consumption, et cetera, and make those adjustments if we need to. We might find that this is just the consistent normal for Surf City. However, the numbers just continue to rise, which is what we would suspect. So the special events manual is essentially the guidebook for all special events, provides those definitions, and provides also applicants for special events an understanding of what they need to do. What we would like to do is develop policy to be incorporated into the manual that would guide the data-driven evaluation to capture change in visitor trends on an annual basis, and then to bring the manual back to council for adoption based on the recommended policy. Additional items that we need to address would be like banner signs, pre-quote generated for external events to help clarify anticipated fees, things that we've seen with consistency in food truck permitting versus zoning and special events. And we just have this opportunity to make some adjustments, have some additional clarity, timing when an application comes in, 90 days prior to an event, when you can advertise, all of those things that are going to come into the mix. And just wanted to, Mayor, you mentioned Bella Larson's in the audience, our new special events supervisor. We've already discussed some of these things, and we do have a laundry list of items in which we want to tackle with the manual. And typically the process is that the Special Events Committee, along with support from our PSEC committee, makes recommendations to modify that manual. I would prefer that council adopt the manual, and then if there are changes that are necessary in the future, those recommendations are being brought back to council so you all can review those and adopt them. But essentially providing consistency in all application of it. So with that being said, we will continue to work on the manual to a point where we can bring that back to council for review and adoption.
So is there anything changing right now?
No, we are putting together our full laundry list of amendments to this manual, again, involving the PSET with it, but we're utilizing some other resources. It needs to be more user-friendly. We had a good discussion at our last Special Events Committee meeting about standardizing site plans, having sign-offs on site plans so that when we go out to an event and it's different than what was approved, we can go back to say, look, you've made these adjustments. You need to let us know these things beforehand when the emergency action plan is presented to the town, so that we're not giving carte blanche conditional approval for something and then waiting until the last couple weeks before the event happens to collect all that data or all that information. And then also adding a post event review and standardizing what materials that we want to provide back to the event organizer to help make them more successful. What the good things were, what the bad things were, so that we can mitigate some of those issues that may have occurred. But overall, I think we've got a great team, great PSET that is working on all of these events, and that's what our goal is.
I just have one question on page 1. I think it was 179. It's highlighted in yellow. Is that remaining the same as far as temporary special event signs? It's going to remain 30 days prior?
Yeah, we're going to look at everything in that manual. So no changes will be made.
Okay.
A full recommendation will come back to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone
That's
have
probably
any
just
other
my
questions?
highlight in there.
Nope.
All right, next up is Kyle again with the strategic performance report.
IT, do you know how I can present and not have the notes up there? Okay, but how can I see the notes? Okay. Well, okay, it's okay. Very good. I want you all to see my notes then. The strategic plan, which is adopted for the town, we've discussed this during our council retreat, and essentially providing a biannual report back to council, which the full report is within your packet. And this is what we will continue to utilize throughout the fiscal year, building up to processes for update for next year. Again, our strategic plan is typically a 5-year plan. There might be some elements of that may extend beyond that just because of the complexity. But essentially what we wanted to do is make sure that council is updated on everything going on with the strategic plan. So as a reminder, we have 5 goal areas: growth and natural resources, infrastructure and transportation, organizational excellence, safe, vibrant, and healthy community, tourism, and cultural resources. So the strategic performance report outlines how the town of Surf City is aligning its operations and investments with its 5-year strategic plan, organized around 5 key goal areas. As I priorly mentioned, the report reflects progress on current projects and sets the foundation for continuous improvement and transparency in government performance. So this was boiled down to 6 key strategic initiatives in which we carried forward in the budgeting process. First one being water and sewer projects. Second being, the third one being the connecting the mainland to the island by combining multi-use path segment, North Shore and segment 1. Support pedestrian connectivity efforts by funding approximately $250,000 for sidewalks, expand efforts to enhance communication by making the website more intuitive and aligning it with a forthcoming mobile application, and enhance the organization's ability to recruit and retain a quality workforce by executing pay study recommendations. So to drive the measurable results, those KSIs, or key strategic initiatives, were agreed upon by council and included within the budget. Again, talking about the utility expansions, critical pedestrian and sidewalk connectivity investments, improved digital communication platforms, and workforce compensation updates. Those KSIs reflect council's commitment to improving quality of life, supporting growth, and investing in long-term infrastructure and staffing ability. So within the growth and natural resources, the town is proactively managing growth while protecting environmental assets. Key actions include updates to the development ordinances, stormwater infrastructure improvements, and coastal resilience projects like the Army Corps project, looking at the Beach Nourishment Fund and a shoreline or beach crossover plan. Partnerships with the Coastal Federation and other federal agencies ensure progress on resiliency projects like erosion control, things that we want to look at for the sound side protection and resilience, invasive species removal, and shoreline management. Surf City continues to invest in resilient infrastructure to meet growing demand. Projects underway include expansions of water and sewer capacity, new stormwater management standards, and pedestrian safety enhancements. A comprehensive approach includes multi-use paths, sidewalks, the 5-year paving plan, and collaborations with NCDOT to improve traffic flow and multimodal pedestrian safety enhancements. A comprehensive approach includes multi-use paths, sidewalks, multimodal connectivity between the island and mainland. I apologize, this was not the route that I was anticipating. But to support a high-performing and resilient local government, the town is modernizing operations through asset tracking, purchasing reforms, and digital services. The See-Click Fix app and website redesign improve resident access to services, while the COOP, or Continuing Operations Plan, ensures continuity during crisis. The Pay Study and Recruitment Committee efforts aim to strengthen internal capacity, and website redesign, improving resident access to service. We also want to retain our skilled personnel through the R&R committee that we are currently and actively working on. The town is fostering a safe, engaged environment by hosting public meetings, enforcing right-of-way regulations, and launching new safety initiatives like the no-wake zones, body camera systems. These efforts enhance public trust, increase transparency, and ensure Surf City remains a welcoming and responsive community for both residents and visitors. And then lastly, under the tourism and cultural resource, Surf City is embracing its identity as a family-friendly coastal town through recreational investments and cultural programs, improvements to beach access, expanded park facilities, and the Surf in the City public art project. Highlight the town's focus on tourism and placemaking. Future efforts include developing a community center expansion and other efforts by implementing the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We have laid out a process over the next several months to utilize our platform on our quarterly community updates to target October as our strategic plan overview for the community, have a workshop within this building highlighting the key objective areas, go through a SWOT analysis process, and start to collect ideas from the public in regard to what projects, what things they would like to see implemented. We will carry those things forward to then our leadership team, our department heads, to understand what their needs are, to start gathering that information, also incorporating things like we have talked about in regards to what are some external influences politically, economically, social items that are affecting Surf City that need to be taken into account, because there are elements within the state, within the federal government that are going to have an effect on what Surf City does. So we got to keep those things in mind, but I think that process is going to then lead us to be able to report back to y'all in January what these ideas, what these concerns are, so that we can do an analysis of those, but then also capturing council's updated vision of projects that we need to incorporate and create this update to the strategic plan, and keep this plan relevant so that we're using it every day to make the decisions that we need to, and also publishing reports such as this performance report back to the public, putting it on the website so that they can understand not only what the action items within our strategic plan are, but what are other projects that are going on in the town that you can physically see. You might not be able to physically see. It might be an internal project, but there's at least some sort of update that's documented, and people can go and evaluate that, and it to be refreshed at least twice a year. So, Madam Mayor and Council, that's the biannual report.
What a great report. Thank you, Kyle. Anyone have any comments or discussion? Do you need a consensus?
I do not. This is just a presentation to council, and again, I just implore you to go back and review that, review the report. Let me know if you have any questions. It's a great tool for you all to know everything that's going on and all of the good things that staff are working on that may not be always discussed just in this room. So,
Yeah, I love the list that you made here, so thank you very much for the report. All right, next item is budget book, and Kyle's back up again.
yeah, so just real quick, this is nothing new to council. However, we did adopt this, not in the sense of council adopting it, but we adopted this process as a post-budget adoption overview to provide additional information on the budget, have an easy to read and easy to understand where money comes from, where money is going, etc. So the budget book is prepared again after July 1st to incorporate some of the key strategic initiatives, some of the strategic initiatives in which the town is pursuing. And one section that we're going to add into this is what grants were applied for and received, and also too what grants were applied for that we did not receive, because I think that's always a big topic of within the community, within council, of what are we pursuing as far as assistance from others. And I'll say that this town has done a tremendous job at continuing to pursue grant opportunities to implement the projects that we need to implement, by trying to reduce the burden back on the taxpayer to do those projects. I'll always remember of getting a large grant, and then very quickly beyond that is the comment of do not ever rest on your laurels with grant applications. So we try not to do that. We do look at capacity of projects being implemented, and Staff has a lot on their plate, but they are moving along to implement all those good projects. So essentially, the budget book, in summary, is just an overview of what the budget looks like, the town finances, and then, as you all know, you'll get a follow-up with the fiscal year audit that will come in a couple of months. But the budget book is put on the website, and again, another resource for our citizens to review and take a look at. So.
All right. Anyone have any discussions, any questions? This is something that I'll print off and keep with me at all times because people ask me about it all the time, and I love to have the facts so I can answer the questions. So thank you to Kyle and the staff that worked on putting this together.
Yeah. And if there's anything else, suggestions, ideas of things that you'd like to see in there, just please let us know, and we're happy to update that. So, yeah.
Next, we need a motion to go into closed session for personnel.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for personnel.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are in closed session. You're more Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Have a great weekend.
Yes.